The Trade and Cooperation Agreement, or TCA, between the United Kingdom and the European Union is one of the most significant agreements in recent European history, defining the contours of the post-Brexit relationship between the UK and its continental neighbours. After years of intense negotiations following the UK's decision to leave the EU, the TCA was signed on December 24th in 2020 and provisionally applied from January 1st in 2021. This comprehensive agreement covers a wide range of areas from trade to security and establishes a new framework for cooperation. As the time for the scheduled review of the TCA approaches, there seems to be a significant misunderstanding on the UK side regarding the nature and purpose of this review. While the UK appears to view this review as an opportunity to renegotiate parts of the agreement, the EU has made it clear that the review is intended solely to assess and address any practical issues that have arisen during the implementation phase. And this video will explore the background of the TCA, clarify the intended purpose of the scheduled review, and discuss the implications of the misunderstanding between many in the UK and the EU. The TCA is a comprehensive and complex agreement that outlines the new relationship between the UK and the EU across multiple domains. The agreement was necessary after the UK's decision to leave the EU, which terminated its membership as well as in the single market as in the customs union, as well as its participation in numerous EU policies and programs. And the TCA is intended to mitigate some of the negative effects of Brexit by establishing new rules for trade, cooperation and governance. However, it represents a significant departure from the close integration that existed when the UK was an EU member state. The TCA ensures tariff-free and quota-free trade in goods between the UK and the EU, a key element of the agreement that both sides were keen to preserve. However, the agreement does not eliminate all barriers to trade. Non-tariff barriers such as customs checks and regulatory compliance have been introduced, leading to increased friction compared to when the UK was part of the EU. The TCA also covers a part of trade and services which constitute a significant portion of the UK economy. However, the agreement offers less comprehensive access to the EU market for UK service providers compared to the arrangements that existed before Brexit. The loss of passporting rights for financial services, for example, has had a significant impact on the UK's financial sector. Fisheries were one of the most contentious issues during the Brexit negotiation. The TCA includes provisions for a gradual reduction in EU fishing quotas in UK waters over a transitional period that lasts until 2026. After this period, access to UK waters will be subject to annual negotiations. This arrangement was a compromise between the UK's desire to regain full control over its waters and the EU's interest in maintaining access for its fishing fleets. The fisheries provisions have been a source of ongoing tensions and disputes, reflecting the sensitivity of this issue for both sides. One of the EU's primary concerns during the negotiations was to prevent the UK from gaining a competitive advantage by undercutting EU standards in areas such as state aid, labour rights and environmental protection. The TCA includes provisions to ensure a level playing field, with both sides agreeing to maintain high standards in these areas. If either side breaches these commitments, the agreement allows for the imposition of tariffs or other remedial measures. And this aspect of the TCA is crucial for maintaining fair competition between the UK and the EU. And the TCA establishes a range of mechanisms for resolving disputes that may arise from its implementation. These include consultation procedures, arbitration panels, and the possibility of imposing sanctions if one side breaches the agreement. The dispute resolution mechanisms are designed to ensure that the agreement is upheld and that any disagreements are resolved in a fair and transparent manner. Although the UK is no longer part of EU security frameworks like Europol or the European Arrest Warrant, the TCA also includes provisions for continued cooperation on security and law enforcement. This includes data sharing, extradition arrangements, and cooperation on combating cross-border crime and terrorism. The security provisions are important for maintaining public safety and ensuring that the UK and the EU can continue to work together on these critical issues, even if more loosely than before. The implementation and governance of the TCA are overseen by a partnership council, which is supported by a range of specialized committees. These bodies are responsible for monitoring the implementation of the agreement, addressing issues that arise, and ensuring that the TCA remains effective and relevant. The governance structures are designed to facilitate ongoing dialogue and cooperation between the UK and the EU. As part of the TCA, it was agreed that there would be periodic reviews of the agreement to assess its functioning and address any practical issues that may have arisen. The first such review is scheduled to take place soon, and it is intended to evaluate how the TCA has been implemented and whether any adjustments are necessary to improve its effectiveness. However, it is important to understand that this review is not intended as an opportunity to renegotiate the core terms of the agreement. Instead, it is a technical exercise focused on identifying and resolving any practical problems that have emerged during the implementation phase. The EU has been clear in its communications that the review is not a renegotiation. The purpose of the review is to ensure that the TCA operates as intended and to make any necessary adjustments to address unforeseen issues or challenges. And this could involve clarifying certain provisions, adjusting implementation practices, or addressing specific technical barriers that have arisen. However, the fundamental principles and terms of the TCA are not up for renegotiation. The misunderstanding on the UK side, or some people there, appears to stem from a belief that the scheduled review could be used as an opportunity to reopen discussions on contentious issues or to amend parts of the TCA that the UK finds unfavorable. This belief is likely influenced by several factors. In the UK, Brexit remains a politically charged issue, and there is significant pressure on the government to demonstrate that it can secure further concessions from the EU, which won't happen. And some UK politicians and commentators may be using the upcoming review as a platform to push for changes to the TCA, even if it's not aligned with the EU's understanding. This political rhetoric may be contributing to the perception that the review is an opportunity for renegotiation. From the outset, the UK and the EU have had different expectations regarding their post-Brexit relationship. The UK, having regained sovereignty, may feel that it has the right to continuously negotiate its relationship with the EU in pursuit of its national interests. Conversely, the EU views the TCA as a settled matter, at least in its broad principles, and is primarily concerned with ensuring the stability and predictability of the agreement. And these diverging expectations have contributed to the current misunderstanding. The TCA is indeed a highly complex agreement, and the process of implementing it has been challenging for one side more than for the other. Misinterpretations of the review process may have also arisen from insufficient clarity in official communications or from a lack of understanding of the technical nature of the review. The complexity of the TCA and the different legal and political cultures of the UK and the EU may have also contributed to the communication gaps, but I think there's some purpose here on one side. The misunderstanding regarding the nature of the scheduled review has still significant implications for the UK-EU relationship. If the UK approaches the review with the expectation of renegotiating the TCA, well, it's likely to be disappointed, leading to further tensions and potential disputes. The EU, for its part, is likely to resist any attempts to reopen the agreement, which could result in a stalemate or even a breakdown in relations. Moreover, this misunderstanding could undermine the stability and predictability that the TCA was designed to provide if the new government in the UK doesn't understand this. The agreement was intended to create a stable framework for UK-EU relations, allowing businesses and citizens on both sides to plan for the future with confidence. If the UK pushes for renegotiation, it would create uncertainty and disrupt the implementation of the TCA, harming both economies and straining political relations. To avoid further misunderstandings here and potential conflicts, it is essential for both the UK and the EU to engage in clear and transparent communication regarding the purpose and scope of the scheduled review, and the UK has to do that internally much more even. The UK needs to adjust its expectations and recognize that the review is not an opportunity for renegotiation, but rather a technical process aimed at fine-tuning the implementation of the agreement. And the EU, for its part, should continue to communicate its position clearly and work with the UK to address any practical issues that have arisen during the implementation phase. And both sides should approach the review with a spirit of cooperation and pragmatism, focusing on resolving practical challenges rather than reopening fundamental disagreements. By doing so, they can ensure that the TCA remains effective and relevant, while also preserving the stability and predictability that is essential for their future relationship. And the scheduled review of the UK-EU Trade and Cooperation Agreement is a critical process that is intended to ensure the smooth implementation of the agreement and to address any practical issues that have emerged since its application. However, there appears still to be the significant misunderstanding on the UK side regarding the nature of this review. And that is why I made this video. I know I do have the hope that the new Labour government understands the different and the purpose of the review. But they need to clearly communicate this to the public, because a lot of people in the public believe that there can be a renegotiation, which won't happen. They need realistic expectations, and they need a realistic communication here. That is why I made this video today. Once again, I had almost 13 million viewers on this channel so far. And if only one person of this 13 million understands the effects of Brexit better than before, then I'm happy about this. Because there are a lot of haters out there. I read this in the comments under my videos every time. Yeah, I know that from the start I got this, so I don't care. But there are still people who want to understand. And there are people who need to understand. Even those that don't want to understand need to understand, but you'll probably never get through to them unless you hit them with the whole script on their heads. I don't know. I'm against violence, I have to say. That was just figuratively speaking, not literally. People need to understand what reality is. And I said this in many videos before, the time of the unicorns is gone. People have to come to reality, and people have to deal with reality. You cannot improve anything in your own country if you are working with false pretenses. You will never be able to address the issues that are there. And that's why I hope that the Labour government will start communicating to the British people what is really going to happen in the future. There will not be a renegotiation of the TCA, not in 2026 and not later. If the UK is not happy with the TCA, they can leave it. but with the consequences that we all know would happen. Yeah, the Brexiteers will come, yeah, we get WTO, that's what we want. Yeah, that is like someone wishing to be hit by a car. But nevertheless, if you want that, you can want that. We have a free will, and nevertheless. I still have hope for the government to do that, but they need to do that soon. And they have to talk about the B word, because it's affecting a lot of people still. And there are, as I have shown this week in my videos, still transitional periods that are running out. And the 2026 review has to be seen as what it is. A look on some practical issues of implementation. Nothing else. The terms of the TCA will not change. And if you want to know more, the next video is here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.